Fuck. Hello everyone. For this week's tutorial, I'll be going the last part of 2D animation using keyframes instead of doing each frame individually. Although I do have Adobe After Effects and Character Animator downloaded on my computer, I will not be using these because it is expensive for people watching this video who do not have it. Instead, I've downloaded a popular open source free software called Blender, which is normally used for 3D animation, but can be used for 2D animation in 3D environments as well. If you download and install Blender yourself, link provided in the description of this video, you will see the first thing that comes up is a grid with a cube on it, as well as a camera that has a cone shape. Unlike Photoshop, Blender is divided into multiple screens with multiple tabs. And the first tab that comes up by default is called Layout, which is the first frame of the scene. Before we can begin 2D animation, we should first rotate the camera so that it's facing directly onto the scene, like so. It would be better to rotate the preview like this, as opposed to rotating the camera itself. This way, from the viewer's perspective, the template cube is also rotated, preserving the scene as it originally was. Once you are satisfied with your camera angle, you can delete the reference cube by clicking on it and hitting the delete key. After this, we will switch to the animation tab. Note that on separate tabs, the camera will be different, so you'll just rotate it to make it line up. You can also click File, New, and then 2D Animation if you would like to make your animation explicitly 2D rather than trying to simulate 2D in a 3D environment. You may notice at the bottom of the window is animation keyframes, as well as the amount of total frames there are, divided into 20 frame intervals. As soon as you draw on a frame, it will make that a keyframe, like so. You can also set the keyframe type, which all function the same, they just have different colors to indicate different types of keyframes. Delete keyframes and duplicate keyframes. You can also mirror the keyframe over either times over the current frame, by values over the first frame, which is value equals 0, or by times over the first selected marker, which is the first marker you select. If there are no markers, it does nothing. You can also snap the keyframe, which moves it to an absolute position rather than mirroring it over a relative amount of positions from its current one. In particular, you can snap it to the current frame, the nearest real-time second, or the nearest marker. You can also transform the keyframes, which works like transformations for single images. And if you right-click on the timeline itself, you will get more options, such as copy, paste, interpolation mode, which uses mathematical functions to determine how smooth the transition between keyframes are. And lastly, insert keyframes. This doesn't seem to really work weirdly if you click insert keyframes. It will only insert it if you click and drag on the screen itself to draw something, as noted earlier. A general rule of thumb for simulating 3D animation using 2D techniques is to keep the backgrounds the same in each frame, but to use objects and characters and scale them. So that way, a character walks away is signified by them shrinking toward the horizon, and a character approaching the camera is signified by them growing toward the horizon. Once you are satisfied with your animation, you can click on the Rendering tab, and it should export to your temporary folder by default, as evidenced when you click Output Properties. However, you can change this output destination by either typing it in manually or clicking the folder icon to browse. Note that even though we did not use After Effects or Character Animator, the process would be very similar in those two. With Character Animator having some stuff on top that Blender or After Effects doesn't, so I will be linking to those external tutorials. During next week's tutorial, I move on from the digital graphics and animation unit and start teaching sound and music production, as they are equally as vital to making your own games as the visual parts are.
Don't forget to subscribe if you found this video informative, and make sure to visit the other tutorial videos and follow me on either Facebook or Twitter for more content.